Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. After recently making it through the entire classic NES Mega Man series, it's finally time to do something I've been talking about for years. Take on all 46 classic Robot Masters Buster only and rank them from easiest to hardest. Please keep in mind this is based on how it felt for me when I played through the games entirely, then again through all of the Robot Masters just recently for this video. This list basically boils down to what I consider 4 objective aspects: the margin for error to avoid attacks, the amount of damage done to Mega Man when hit, the timing to land your attacks on the Robot Master, and of course the amount of damage done by your Buster. Your list may differ from mine. I would love to know, who do you think are the hardest Robot Masters? Who's your hardest? Who do you think is the easiest? Before we get started, I have to give a very quick shout out to Achieve Display for hooking me up with a great deal on these amazing display shelves. I've talked about him a few times on the channel. Joseph Nelson is a super nice guy over there, and believe it or not, after using the shelves for myself, I'm actually the one that reached out to him about doing some promotional offer through MarMax Gaming, and he graciously accepted. So if you want an easy way to proudly display your games, movies, boxes, music, or whatever, use the link in the description, and in the checkout comments, write "MarMax Gaming sent me" to get 10% off your entire order, and that's on any items from the site. So if you do take a look and decide to get anything, be sure to follow up with me either on social or in the comments so I can ensure you get your discount. Without further delay, here's all 46 NES Mega Man Robot Masters ranked from easiest to hardest, Buster only. Number 46, Toad Man from Mega Man 4. While Toad Man has a special rain attack that covers the whole screen, resulting in some serious damage, it only takes a little bit to realize how simple this guy's AI is. Toad Man tends to jump to where you are after just a couple shots. He jumps high and is pretty easy to avoid, so you can get away with doing this, just shooting, passing underneath him, or staying in front until the fight is all over, making Toad Man the easiest fight with the Buster. Number 45, Nightman from Mega Man 6. With such a cool name and design, it's kind of a big shame that Nightman doesn't really live up to his name. As opposed to athletic and deadly, you have a slow and hardly threatening opponent that can't really do much at all. He has a mace ball, which looks awesome in illustration, but in reality, it feels like you're having a fight with a lethargic yo-yo man. Nightman basically walks the dog with his mace. All you need to do is hop away and return fire. His jumping is very floaty too for whatever reason. Even with Nightman's shield deflecting shots, he's still incredibly easy to hit from behind or as his mace is slowly retracting. Number 44, Heat Man from Mega Man 2. If it weren't for his level's deadly block patterns from hell, Heat Man would be a great Robot Master to take out first. He's another Robot Master that can get locked into a pattern very easily. You might get tagged with his first throw of fire, but after that, all you have to do is shoot, wait to jump over, turn to shoot, and continue. The only slightly tricky part is the fact that his timing before he beams over has a variable to it, so a player can get caught jumping preemptively, or even too late. Even with Heat Man's constantly activated invincibility, it's still a simple fight of shoot, jump, run, shoot, jump, run, shoot. It's nothing that should hold anybody back for long. Also, please keep in mind, in order to be on an even playing field, all Mega Man 2 bosses were completed on their default Japanese difficulty, known as difficult here in the US, meaning your Buster does half of the damage as normal mode. Number 43, Blizzard Man from Mega Man 6. Perhaps the fattest Robot Master, aside from Windstorm H of the Wily Wars, Blizzard Man is a pretty simple fight to get down. His Blizzard attack is surprisingly easy to avoid. You leave a tiny room from the wall, and it basically all misses as you move over and jump. The roll attack is also pretty simple. You can see it coming early enough, so you jump over and slide away, and then punish with a charge shot. Number 42, Top Man from Mega Man 3. In a game that packs so much challenge, they needed to at least give the player some chance with an easier Robot Master, and that's exactly what Top Man is. While he and his attacks are pretty quick, it's a simple pattern of shooting, leaving room to avoid the tops, then jumping over Top Man. Shoot again, avoid the tops, jump over Top Man, and this continues until the fight is over. It can try your patience with his consistent invincibility, but only a little patience and timing will easily get you through this fight. Number 41, Dust Man from Mega Man 4. Dust Man has a couple things he can do. He jumps around, sucks in air that requires you to run or slide away from, and his junk shots are a lot easier to avoid than you'd think. If you can jump straight up, the 4 diagonal shots will always miss. When he jumps, you have to be ready to run or slide away. If he decides to shoot multiple junk shots, this is the easiest time to pile on a bunch of damage, making him not a very tough Robot Master to take down. Number 40, Starman from Mega Man 5. Starman and the anti-gravity control is a pretty simple fight because you're given a lot of time and room to dodge him and his slowly moving star shield. Granted, you can't shoot him when he's hopping around with it, but waiting with the charge shot is the way to go. You have the options of sliding underneath or using your moon jumps to try to avoid him and his stars. Even if you don't have the best fight against him, like me, you can still pull it out. You just have to avoid being too antsy, jumpy, and putting yourself in bad spots. I found him to be quite an easy fight. Number 39, Plant Man from Mega Man 6. Plant Man has a similar shield to Starman. If you're familiar with the series, you probably know which Robot Master ultimately started this attack. Somebody we will see later on in the list. Plant Man is a very simple pattern. The only thing is he's faster and a bit tighter to avoid than Starman. One reason being that you don't have the moon physics while you jump. All he does though is pulls up the shield after being shot, jumps either toward you or away from you, and releases the pedals your way. His running might catch you off guard, but he's also not that fast either. When he's jumping around, something that can catch you off guard that's unique to some of the Mega Man 6 Robot Masters compared to the rest of them is that their jumps can bounce off the wall. Number 38, Stone Man from Mega Man 5. Stone Man can be a pretty simple boss. He's often not too bad, giving you decent time to move out of his way from his consistent hopping and large jumps. And when he decides to hop toward you over and over, moving away while shooting is easy. When he briefly crumbles, that's a good time to charge your buster. Sometimes his orbiting stones can take up a decent amount of space or be in a precarious position, so you have to keep an eye out for that. Stone Man is pretty easy to keep the punishment going on as you avoid his jumping while staying away from the swirling boulders. Number 37, Bomb Man from Mega Man 1. I think most would agree that Bomb Man is the easiest Robot Master from the original Mega Man. There are 2 others that I don't believe are too far off, and also frequent starting points for players. Bomb Man isn't a fight that you can get away with being too lazy. You do have to keep moving, but it's not that bad to get an idea of what is going to happen. You have to either keep inching toward or away from him to avoid his bomb explosions. He does tend to sometimes hop around a bit, and you have to be conscious of your spacing. While he's hopping, it's usually to get away from Mega Man. It just ends up being a cycle of you timing your steps and shots with his explosions to take this guy out. Number 36, Airman from Mega Man 2. I just have to throw a reminder out there. Remember, on difficult, these bosses receive half as much damage as compared to normal. Even still, Airman can be quite easy. Airman throws out those little tornadoes that can be really tricky to avoid, and they also block damage from happening. If you were to just hang back in the corner, this fight would feel completely brutal and almost impossible. But if you know to push forward against the resistance and get in front of the bottom lead tornadoes, you can see just how much damage can be racked up in a hurry as long as you keep firing that buster. Number 35, Fireman from Mega Man 1. I believe some players would argue him higher, and I also could see people arguing him lower. The thing with Fireman is, you'd have to go into this fight with the mentality, I don't care if I get hit as long as I'm shooting at the same time. If you went into this thinking you had to worry about avoiding damage before shooting, then this fight really would seem downright impossible. Once things get started, it's a rare example of patterns that are straight up impossible to avoid. I mean, look at this. Often jumping the fire attack just results in you being slammed in the face on the way back down. Your only option once this fight gets going is to keep firing while moving off of those afterburner spots, and you'll be able to outdamage him every single time. Number 34, Magnet Man from Mega Man 3. Another frequent start-off Robot Master for Mega Man 3. Magnet Man does have more going on than Top Man. In fact, I was actually kind of sucking on my couple of fights with him. I know from my previous fights with him that he isn't that bad, with his 3 magnet missile attacks being avoided by just walking out of the way, and his magnet pull isn't very complicated to stay away from either. If he's hopping around or doing something other than what you're expecting, you could get caught off guard more often than you'd like. I was making a lot of mistakes as he kept jumping into my space. You can totally slide underneath these, and he really doesn't do that much damage to you. You have to avoid the best you can in order to hang in there and look to shoot him frequently between his attacks. Number 33, Charge Man from Mega Man 5. This locomotive-themed level and boss does as his name implies. Charge Man charges your way. He's pretty simple to jump over and run away from. Between the chases, he turns red and invincible for a spread shot to come down from overhead. Usually, this is surprisingly not that bad to avoid, and it also doesn't do that much damage either. So as long as you're remembering to charge your buster up for those 3 pegs of damage each, it becomes a pretty simple fight of shoot, jump over to avoid, run away, step between those projectiles, return fire, until you've derailed this crazy train. Number 32, Wind Man from Mega Man 6. Wind Man can definitely catch you by surprise with his quick approaching attack, or his quick shots of a couple gyros out of his arm cannon. But as long as you slide away when he approaches, and jump when the gyros come out, those really are the only 2 things you need to worry about. Granted, he can move about pretty quickly, so you have to focus on avoiding him, holding your charge shot for those openings, and it'll surprise you how much you can eat through his life bar as you try to calmly react between using your slide or run out of his approach and jump over his shots. Number 31, Cut Man from Mega Man 1. Bomb Man and Cut Man are actually the first 2 Robot Masters I ever defeated in my Mega Man history. Cut Man is a really cool fight in my opinion because for anybody watching, it looks pretty intense. Basically, you shoot Cut Man, then jump over his cutter blade, then resist the urge to wait there to attempt jumping again, which would clip his blade. What you want to do is shoot and run towards Cut Man because he will jump over your head. As long as you shoot, jump over his cutter as it comes toward you, and keep running toward him with your shots, it'll soon feel that you're actually doing a Cut Man dance, and you can continue to follow this pattern. Number 30, Dive Man from Mega Man 4. The fight with Dive Man all has to do with your ability to react. He will do one of 2 things, fire missiles, which you need to shoot down, or torpedo toward you, which you must jump away from. So really, it's a jump versus shoot reaction test the entire way. There's actually not a consistent pattern on what he will choose to do, which can change the whole fight quite a bit. If he stands his ground and keeps firing torpedoes, then it's even easier to stack damage, but you just have to stay ready for jumping and then sliding away from Dive Man in order to keep him at bay as you take him out, while avoiding his contact damage. Number 29, Yamato Man from Mega Man 6. Yamato Man has a couple of attacks. The one you need to look out for is his quick projectile that zips out, and then he quickly chases from behind to grab it. The other aerial attack has a fan shot that's pretty slow and not that bad to avoid, but as long as you can try to keep your space by jumping over and sliding away from Yamato Man between your shots, it doesn't end up being that terrible of a fight. Number 28, Bubble Man from Mega Man 2. Bubble Man can honestly be pretty tricky or annoying to avoid. He has several shots, plus bouncing bubbles, and he's often floating in the air, which makes it harder to land shots, and you could get contact damage. And if you choose to jump up to try to shoot him, your spacing and timing needs to be tight, otherwise you're getting hit by return fire. The only reason this isn't much higher up on the list is Bubble Man doesn't do that much damage, so if you can keep the shots pouring on during the fight while doing your best to avoid all of his stuff, you should be able to eventually empty his life bar before he empties yours. Side note, be sure to not get hit into the boss door by his bubbles, like what actually happened to me the first time I got here. Since there actually isn't a way to die, I had to reset the NES to do the level again. Number 27, Drill Man from Mega Man 4. Drill Man is another fight that can really depend on what mood he's in. If he's in the mood to drill into the ground and pop up to eat charge shots, then that's great. If he's in the mood to constantly run around spamming his drill shots, then you could find yourself in some trouble. For how tough it is to avoid those drill shots, it's fortunate they don't do that much damage. Contact damage is another story, so you definitely have to look out for him when he's running around. With Drill Man, it's really all about doing your best to keep your shots going, avoid his body, and be ready for a charge shot so you can hit him when he pops back up. Number 26, Naplam Man from Mega Man 5. My first go-arounds with Naplam Man, I struggled against him. Naplam Man likes to jump right up to Mega Man before firing his napalms. If you are constantly trying to get space from him by sliding away, it's actually going to feel like you're always getting jumped into as he flies across the screen. But it wasn't until this round of playing that I noticed how much simpler the fight gets if you stay relatively close to him, stepping away from the bombs and still having time to react to his missiles. If you continue to step away from him and keep it pretty close, the fight gets a lot simpler than it might seem at first. Number 25, Gyro Man from Mega Man 5. Gyro Man's pretty interesting. He never runs or jumps toward you, but instead he disappears into the clouds and attempts to come down on top of Mega Man. You have to look out for the gyro that comes down, which isn't that bad, but the one he throws out at you can be pretty quick and awful. It zooms right out to where you are and then goes up, which actually does decent damage, so you can't afford too many of these at all. It requires quick reactions to get out of the way of those forwardly thrown gyros, while the cloud thing is kind of like when Drill Man digs into the ground. You really hope for him to do that a lot so you can be waiting with the charge shot. Number 24, Centaur Man from Mega Man 6. Centaur Man can be tough to avoid damage from, especially when he stops time and you're too close to the wall for one of those bouncing spread shots. Centaur Man likes to disappear and reappear where you are, so you have to keep yourself moving out of the way. He also happens to move kind of fast when he runs toward you, so you need to be ready to jump over that. Positioning is everything in this fight, standing far enough away from the wall to avoid those bouncing shots, while being far enough away from Centaur Man to not get hit by him when he charges forward. Number 23, Flash Man from Mega Man 2. Since the fights do have some similarities, it kinda makes sense that Flash Man comes right after Centaur Man. He was the first Robot Master with the ability to stop time. And believe it or not, there's another Robot Master later that does the same thing. With Flash Man, you need to get a bit luckier than with Centaur Man. Fortunately, he's not that hard of a Robot Master to keep landing your shots on, but you have to look out because although he's slow, he is constantly seeking contact damage too. And when he does stop time, you've got to be in the zone to get a few time jumps out of harm's way as you hold your breath while you're completely stuffed. So you have to keep the shots going, avoid him the best you can, while trying to get his flash timing just right. Number 22, Wave Man from Mega Man 5. Wave Man has a tricky little pattern going on. He has a little water spout that shoots up that can easily catch you for damage, plus deflects all of your attacks. Then the Trident Shot jump combo can be super annoying to get around. You have to squeeze between him and his shots, while trying to get in as much damage as you can, hoping the water doesn't shoot up to block you. He does some decent damage to Mega Man, and it's not the easiest thing to avoid at all. You've got to know what you're doing to get through quick little fights like this one. Your charge shot is going to make a big difference for you, and hoping for favorable water positioning while trying to avoid him and his shot. Number 21, Hard Man from Mega Man 3. We were just speaking of some tight squeezes. Well, you have to be ready to pull more of those with Hard Man. It's kind of a strange fight and Robot Master, but his name is accurate. He can be pretty hard. While his crashing into the floor doesn't work anything like Guts Man, it even freezes you in the air. His hard knuckles that fly out and zoom back, as you can see, are pretty tricky to avoid. You're gonna need some pretty tight jumping and consistent shooting to win a fight like this. And this is why Hard Man is barely outside of the top 20. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video so far. I appreciate you watching. If you're pumped for part 2, I appreciate you liking and commenting to help the channel grow, and I look forward to seeing you again as soon as possible for the top 20 hardest NES Robot Masters, Buster only, of all time.